Hi, Wendy. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Great. Nikki Fowler with Glitter Magazine. Thanks for taking time out. I know you're so busy with your schedule from the Goldbergs to Silvie's Love to now Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. So I
Yes.
appreciate it and congrats on all your latest adventures.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah. So how did you get your start in acting and when did you first have a love for, find that you had a love for comedy?
Oh, I knew that from the time I was 4 years old. I was watching Carol Burnett and Mary Tyler Moore and, all these women in their glam gowns and everything, making people laugh. And I was like, that is for me. That is definitely what I want to do when I grow up. And so my mom kind of fostered that by giving my sister and I a bunch of dress up clothes and dance lessons and all these things. But then when I turned 18 and I said, well, I really want to do this, I want to go to acting school, my parents were like, no, absolutely not. We are not paying for that. That's stupid. Absolutely not. So I didn't really get started in earnest until I was about 27, because at that point I was married and my husband was like, I think you can do it.
Yeah.
So that's where I finally got support. And prior to that, I was, working different jobs, going to college, but dropping out and dropping back in. And I was just very lost because I knew what I wanted and I couldn't go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've reunited with Kristen Wiig and Annie Momolo
Mhm.
10 years after Bridesmaids.
Yeah.
What was that like to reunite with them?
I mean, it was pretty much the greatest thing in the world that they would even think of me again for this. And again, we all met at the Groundlings Theater, which is, if you don't know what it is, or your readers don't know, it's a comedy theater in Los Angeles where they teach sketch writing and improv. And a lot of people go on to have nice careers from being in that company, whether it's on Saturday Night Live or other things. We've got a couple of Oscar winners from my group that I came up with. So that was really meaningful for me to be a part of that. And that's where I met Annie and Kristen. And oddly enough, I met Kristen at a bridal shower where I also met Melissa McCarthy and Maya Rudolph. So that was weird that, years later we would go on to make Bridesmaids
Yeah.
together. And I always thought that those two had a really good writing chemistry together. Like every time they wrote a sketch, it was always a hit and it was always bonkers. So after Bridesmaids came out, of course, everyone was like, when are you going to write the next one? When are you going to write the next one? Well, the last thing they wanted to do was write another Bridesmaids,
Hmm.
because that took about 5 years to get off the ground. And by the time it did, it was like, we're tired of talking about this stuff. So for them to come up with this absolutely bananas idea and for it to actually get made is astounding. And it's the kind of movie we need right now because we all need to be taken out of our reality, number one. And
Hmm.
we need to just laugh at something that's genuinely funny. And that's what this film is. So for me to even get to see them in New Mexico where we filmed my scene, it was like, yes, yes. Oh, this is the greatest thing in the world. It was
Yeah.
such a gift.
And Kristen has mentioned in interviews that the characters in the film were developed from this mom banter that kind of went on I believe the Bridesmaids set. I don't know if
Mhm.
you were privy to that, or can you tell us how that kind of helped develop these characters?
Um, I I didn't know about that, but I could see the total mom banter happening. Like what I love about their work is that it's about female friendships and the importance of that. It's not, oh, we need to have a man and that's what's going to validate us forever. In the end, it's always the female friendships that are first and foremost. So I love that that Barb and Star are such good friends that they would go and sit on their special couch on their days off and just talk. I mean, I don't know. It's listen, if it makes midlifers seem really cool, I'm all for it.
Mhm. Speaking of that, the film Barb and Star is just like this real life Candyland board game for middle-aged females and all their
Yes.
fabulousness. And Kristen also mentioned in another comment where the characters were written to be celebrated more so than made fun of. And
Yeah.
see that. I get that from your character, Nikki. I mean, she's living her best life. She's tan.
Yes.
She's going on vacation. So,
Come on.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
going to do what she's doing. So, what was it like to be a part of that celebration of these characters? And can you just tell us a little bit about your role as Nikki?
Well, my character is the one that has the original soul douche at Vista Del Mar.
Yes.
And, listen, they live in a small town in Nebraska. So for them to go have sun and fun and cocktails, it's like, yes, more of that, please. But the funny thing about it is that, when and this is the truth of it all, when you're younger, you want to go places because you want to see and be seen, and you're worried about how everybody's looking at you and judging you. And by the time you hit your 40s, you're like, who cares? You know,
Yeah.
this is what I'm wearing today, and I don't care what you think about it. Yes. So there's something very freeing about getting older.
Mhm.
I started a whole podcast about it with my best friend. It's like, we don't feel any different than we felt when we were 15 years old. It's just we're a little older now. We got a little bit of money. So what are we going to do? You know?
Exactly.
And so that was really fun to play. And I love that these gals, Barb and Star, have been in Nebraska for so long that they don't even know what to expect when they go on vacation. And they do need to find their shimmer again.
Yes.
They do need to find that inner spark. I think that was a great way to put it. I lost my shimmer. I thought that was adorable.
Yeah. So, how does it feel to be a part of films that have so much girl power behind the scenes?
You know, there's a different vibe on those kinds of sets, and it's palpable. And there's a different kind of joy and camaraderie. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying I've worked on both. And you definitely want to go, if you're going to spend 12 hours a day on set, you want to go to a place where the tone is uplifting and where you feel like you're doing a good job and you're not being talked down to or mansplained to.
Yes.
And if it's a female driven movie, I can't tell you how irritating it is to have a man tell you what women sound like when they talk.
Yes.
We don't need that. We have more experience with that. So, um, yeah, I mean, I know that Annie and Kristen foster a feeling of, hey, we're all here. You guys were all hired for a reason. Bring your brilliance to the set and throw it into the mix. We want to hear from you. Like, they're very collaborative
Hmm.
creators.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you feel there's room for improvement in Hollywood with opportunities for women?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is getting better, believe it or not, for all the whinging of, oh, we need to change this. It is getting better. I've worked in the business long enough to see, like, wow, I think back to 10 years ago and I'm appalled. You know, things are really, um, things are getting better. And I can tell because women themselves are empowering themselves to help out.
Hmm.
How hard is it to pick up a phone and recommend your friend? It's
Yes.
not hard. We need more of that in all industries. Like, don't be afraid to help your friend out. This is not a competition.
Mhm.
If someone benefits, we all benefit down the line. So that's what I'm seeing more of, and I hope that continues.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your role as Lucy in Sylvie's Love and what you took away from that film or what you loved about that film?
Yeah. So Lucy was, not so loosely based on Julia Childs, okay, who had a very popular cooking show and everybody watched it. And in that era, women were expected to present a certain way on camera. Like, you're the happy housewife, you have no feelings, we're going to cook, for our man, blah, blah, blah. Personality not required.
Mhm.
Okay. So while my character is not like at the forefront of the movie, it's important because it's how Silvie works her way up to what she wants to do. And so for Silvie to even say, hey, why don't you just let this weird lady be herself? And being right about that, that's a kind of validation that, and it's hard to believe that back in the day that would be an outrageous thing to say at work is, hey, have you ever just thought, I know I'm just a lowly production assistant, why don't you just let her do that? Like,
Yeah.
I have other ideas too, and I don't think I'm wrong. Like, that was a groundbreaking thing to do back then. And what I love about the movie, though, is, again, my character aside, because she's an afterthought, but it's a love story that isn't set against the backdrop of something terrible happening culturally. It's just a Black love story
Mhm.
that's delicious and has beautiful music and gorgeous costumes. It's just a beautiful truffle of a movie.
Mhm.
And it was an honor to be a part of something so stylistically thought out and niche. You know what I mean?
Sorry. The
Yeah.
Goldbergs is on its eighth season, so
Wow.
congrats on that. And
Thank you.
what does the show mean to you, and what were just some highlights over the years?
Um, I mean, we're gonna wrap season 8 in about 4 weeks. And I am so thrilled that we've been able to do this during a pandemic. Again, people need to laugh right now. And a lot of people discovered our show during the pandemic because it's on Hulu. You can binge the whole thing. And to get those messages of, oh my God, thank you for doing this. You're you're giving us stuff to watch with our kids that we can all enjoy, and that time is precious with families. No, I don't have any kids, so I don't know this. So to me, hearing that, it's like, oh, good, good. I'm glad we're making an impact. For me personally, it has been the greatest gift, the best job I've ever had. Every minute that I am on set is a blessing. I know I'm sounding crazy, but I love everybody involved. I love every crew member. And at the end of this, whenever that is, I hope we go 10, 11 seasons. I don't know.
Mhm.
I know that I have a family. I know I have this big, beautiful, extended family of like 250 people that we've bonded together. And so highlights would be watching these kids get older. I look back at season 1 and I'm like, oh my God, they were kittens. They were little kittens.
Yeah.
Working with George Siegel, who is an American icon. Every day I see him, I pinch myself,
Mm.
you know. Um, Watching our writers excel, and then watching some of these people have babies and start family. Like, we've been together that long. I know we've had almost 30 babies born
Oh, wow.
from our crew. Okay. We might have gone over that actually. Um, but you know, I was a teenager in the 80s, so reliving all this stuff, but through the eyes of a mother, I will never stop apologizing to my own mother. And I wasn't even a bad kid.
Yeah.
But, you know, back before there were cell phones and your parents really didn't know where you were all the time. Now I think about that. Oh my God, I would tear my hair out,
Yeah.
you know? And I understand Beverly, even though she's a kook, I understand the instinct to act first and apologize later. And if I were a mom, I would be just as embarrassing.
Yes.
You know, so that I just can't stress enough how much of a gift it's been to me. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, your character Beverly is always delivering laugh after laugh. Are there times where you and the cast are just cracking up reading the script?
Oh, there are times when I have laughed so hard I've cried my makeup off. And then we've had to reset and like I've held up production laughing so hard. And many of those lines have been delivered by the illustrious Troy Gentile, who plays Barry. Sometimes his delivery is so funny that I cannot hold it together.
Yeah.
And then I laugh all the way home thinking of something. There was a time on the pilot that I laughed so hard that I stopped production. And that was because I was supposed to deliver a line saying, Barry had a fart that fooled him, meaning Barry shit his pants. Okay. I laughed so hard. I just couldn't hold it together. I
Yeah.
wasted so much time that day laughing. But you know, that's a pretty good day at work, right?
Yes. So we all love the 80s. I mean, I was there. I don't know about everyone else.
No, you weren't.
Oh
You
yeah,
are a baby. You were not. You must have been one.
I was there. So what do you love about the timestamp on the show, and what are some 80s trends that you loved?
Some 80s trends that I loved. There was a time when you would wear like long pencil skirts and maybe a long vest with a big shoulder pad top underneath the vest, big brooch here around, you know,
Mhm.
right at the throat, and long strands of fake pearls.
Molly Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald, totally. Very chic.
Yes.
You know, I loved that look. Gosh, I suffered through so many bad haircuts in the 80s, though. I spend a lot of time thinking about that. I should have really gotten it together more. But Christy Brinkley as an icon,
Mhm.
or Paulina Porizkova, they were always like my beauty standard, which of course I never reached. But you know, they were my inspirations, my fashion inspirations. I
Yeah.
still love the music. I still love a lot of the music, and I still love John Hughes movies. I think
Yeah.
even though some of the subject matter doesn't totally hold up, the movies themselves are phenomenal and still bring out those same feelings,
Mhm.
you know? And I love to this day going to a good 80s concert,
Yeah.
you
Same.
know?
So I have a few last fun questions. Do you have a Barb and Star Girls Talking Club? And if so, what is your dish of choice, or what would be your dish of choice?
Well, my dish of choice, if I were to get invited to a talking club, um, I would do a 7-layer dip. Because that knocks everybody's socks off. That's like what I'm known for.
And
Um,
oh, sorry.
oh, sorry. I would not have the talking club at my own house because I do have a lot of cats and some
Yeah.
people are allergic. And also, my cats are allergic to strangers.
So have you ever, well, we saw in the movie Barb and Char jumping off this cliff. Have you ever done anything that was physically liberating in your life?
Oh, yes, yes. I am part of an adventure club with a bunch of other broads. And sadly, we have not been able to meet for a long, long time. But we did a ropes course where you're like way up high and confronting your fear of heights. And I loved it. Like there's a thing you can do called a leap of faith where you just jump off a platform and you're hooked up. You're not going to fall, but that free fall feeling, you do have it for a little while. And I love that. And I felt like after that, after conquering that, it was like, okay, well, what else can I do?
Yeah.
You know, and watching other women who are truly, truly afraid of heights, just like hanging on to these wires and just feeling the fear and going for it anyway, and watching them like, oh, that was so exhilarating for me.
Yeah.
So next time, because I'm kind of a daredevil, I do want to go into a shark cage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Brave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you a girls trip kind of girl? And if so, what would be the ideal vacay for you?
I am not a girls trip person. I can't say that I've ever been on a girls trip. But I would never say no to going down to Tulum or something.
Sure.
I mean, certainly, if someone wanted me and a bunch of girls to go to a 5-star resort anywhere near the ocean, I would do that. I would give of myself.
So last, well, a couple more questions. What's one thing that helped you through the first months of isolation? Was there like one thing that kind of comforted you?
One thing that kind of comforted me was I got to be with my husband a lot. Okay. And, you know, we kind of make our home a cozy place so that we don't necessarily want to leave, you know? So at first, and this is back when we thought this was only going to be 2 weeks,
Yes.
it was kind of nice. Like, oh, we can nest and I can reorganize things and maybe do some painting or whatever, paint a room. So that made me really happy at first, just nesting. I'll go out in the yard, clip some flowers. I'll cook something. I'll bake sourdough bread like everybody else in the world.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, around month 2, it was like, okay, come on, we're wasting our lives. But,
Yeah.
you know, it did feel good to sit still for a little bit.
Yes.
You know?
So what is next for you?
What is next? Well, we're finishing the Goldbergs, finishing up this season. I have an animated series coming out on Hulu called MODOK, which is part of the Marvel universe. It was put together by Patton Oswalt, and I played this bananas scientist that is always at odds with Patton's character. It was really fun. It's like stop motion animation, so it's really weird. I hope people like it because it sure was fun to do. So that's coming out. I'm on a cartoon called Big City Greens that airs every Saturday on the Disney Channel. I'm supposed to film a couple of movies in the spring, but we don't know.
Yes.
I'm fingers crossed that everything goes as planned. And then a movie that I did that went to Sundance a couple years ago is finally getting its UK debut next week, and that's called Blush. You can watch it here on video on demand here in the States, but it's going to the UK finally, so that's nice. And we'll see. Nice. Just waiting on that vaccination.
Yes.
You know, so we can solidify some plans.
Exactly.
But I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Wendy. It was
Thank
great
you.
talking to you and wishing you the best on all your next endeavors.
Oh, thank you. Pleasure was mine.
Great. Have a great
All right.
weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Bye bye.